I had this sign.
You're doing this on campus?
I did this on campus. I brought this sign and said, all right, if anyone wants to come up and talk about it, we'll talk about it. And I mean, within just like 30 minutes, we probably had 200, 300, 400 students come.
Oh, yeah.
It was wild.
So your booth is right over there, and you are Reformation Red Pill.
That's me.
And I have to admit now, I'm only kind of acquainted with you, but I'm about to get more acquainted.
Yeah.
And I want our listeners to get more acquainted with you. So what is Reformation Red Pill? What's your theme? What are you about? What are you trying to accomplish? Do you have a tagline? All that.
That's great. So for Reformation Red Pill, I chose the name because everything changed for me in 2020. So I was planting a church in Los Angeles.
You were?
Yes. I planted a little Acts 29 church in
I was in
Venice.
Acts 29.
Yeah.
We were, huh?
Yeah. So I
were, past tense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, same. Very happy with where the Lord's brought me now. But I planted an Acts 29 church in 2020. Now, March 1st, 2020, 2 weeks before the world shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so...
Great time to plant a church.
Great time. Yeah. I could write a book about the best time to plant churches. So I planted, and really, when 2020 hit and we had COVID and Black Lives Matter, those were two of like the most, sociologically, upsetting phenomenons in our probably generation, and so those hit in 2020, and I just watched as all these evangelical leaders who were in my sphere, in my ecclesiological world, just if they didn't fold under pressure, they just didn't know what to do.
They folded under pressure.
They just did, that, and then many of them just had no idea how to respond. They had no idea how to respond. And I, as a brand new church planter, too young of a church planter, I will add. Now,
how old am I then?
26.
26. Yeah, that's questionable.
Well, I would say, now that I'm in a confessionally reformed church that takes ordination very seriously, I have now seen what the test looks like to get ordained in the CREC, and I've sat through many ordination exams, and I'm like, I couldn't pass that.
Yeah, I wasn't there. Yeah.
I couldn't pass that.
All right.
So anyway, all that's going on. 2020, I'm looking for leadership. Like who, I'm looking at all the guys in my, Acts 29 world, and I'm just so unimpressed with how they're handling COVID, with how they're handling Black Lives Matter.
Amen.
They're putting the black square. They're shutting down the churches. They're masking everybody up, forced mask mandates and all this stuff. And I'm just more and more, all I can do is it was like a gut level, this is wrong. But I can't put words to it. By the grace of God, I read Vodi Bachum's Fault Lines right in that time. And it was like, oh.
That helped a lot.
Oh, all these churches in my non-denominational denomination, Acts 29, they're culturally Marxist. They're cultural Marxists, and they don't even know it. And they don't know that is a worldview. It's fundamentally a religious worldview that is completely, it's oil and water with Christianity. They cannot mix.
And they're coddling left and punching, right?
Exactly.
And they're playing down the hard passages.
Yep.
Kind of burping and going past them quickly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I see that in the Reformed world, all these men are holding the line on these issues. And I was like, why? I thought, I says to myself, why is it that these men knew how to respond to COVID, to Black Lives Matter?
Acts 29 was supposed to be in the Reformed world, and I guess as far as soteriology, it was.
So that's where I hit one of the early episodes of my podcast. I made my own little taxonomy for it, and I call it light roast Calvinism, which is just, it's just Calvinistic soteriology, and that's what I was before. That's Acts 29.
Yeah.
And then with dark roast Calvinism, I call that, dark roast Reformed, and that's Calvinistic, covenantal, and confessional. And that's the 3 C's of what I call dark roast Reformed theology.
Nice.
And I came up with that because I realized that's what these men who are holding the line all have in common. They're all dark roast Reformed, Calvinistic, confessional, and covenantal. And
is there one step beyond that? Like maybe they're patriarchal?
Communion.
I'm a Baptist. You're not getting me there.
Yeah, that's right. Patriarchal is part of it. Yeah, I would say, in fact...
I'm a Baptist who would allow Presbyterians in our church
I love it.
to give their kids paedo communion.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's rare.
That's rare.
Yeah.
That's very rare. I love that. Paedo communion's a funny one because it makes sense to the Baptist mind.
That's exactly right.
You're baptized.
I have PCA people complaining about paedo communion, and I'm like, it's just consistent, man.
Come on, you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I love that. So, but those are the 3 C's I came up with for that dark roast reform. And I started to notice that these guys all had these three things in common. And that really attracted me. And I realized, why is it that like the Doug Wilsons, the CREC churches, why were they prepared for Black Lives Matter? Why were they prepared for COVID? Because in my camp, they're pulling Bible verses out of a hat to try to figure out what to do with this. Like, love your neighbor, that means wear the mask. You know, it's like, what are you talking about here? And then, but then I began to realize, it's because in the Reformed tradition, you're actually connected to church history. You're not reinventing the ecclesiological wheel every generation.
Nice.
You're connected to church history. And it turns out, when it comes to political theology, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, we're standing on the shoulders of like the Abraham Kuypers and the Samuel Rutherfords and all these men who have worked these things out. And it's been, anyway. So I realized they've been studying them, and that's why they were ready. Well, that's why the CREC was ready to stand up and say, no, you may not tell us to stop worshiping. That is not your prerogative. The Lord has not given you the authority to shut down our churches. You can, prosecute and punish the evildoer. God has given you the sword, civil magistrate, to do that, but he has not given you the authority to shut down the proclamation of the word and the distribution of the sacraments. You don't have that authority.
By the way, incidentally, that's one of the things I really respected about John MacArthur is they not shut down.
Me too.
Way to go, John.
Way to go, John.
Uh-huh.
Way to go, John. And so I was just became enamored with these men, and I wanted to know what it was that prepared them for this moment. So I started digging down into the theology, and I just realized, like, man, this is so. I mean, it was like I was getting red pilled. The term red pilled, like the idea that you gain something new that changes everything, right? You change a perspective, red pill or whatever, that changes the way that you view the world. And that's what Reformed theology, true, confessional, covenantal, Calvinistic Reformed theology did for
kind of seeps into everything.
Everything. Like Calvinistic soteriology is just the tip of the iceberg. And I was hanging out there for years.
Yeah, there's a whole package.
And underneath is covenant theology. And it's like, whoa, okay, this touches everything. And so once I started to get into that, that's when I went from being like top of the class in, big Eva theology world to like, I'm not even a freshman.
Flunking.
I'm not even a freshman. I'm a kindergartner. I've got so much to learn. And so, but I'm leading a church.
Yeah. And so I don't know that. Are you a pastor?
So I was a pastor.
You were?
Yeah.
Are you an elder in it? Because you were ordained.
I was ordained in Acts 29 and the Soma.
Not again in the...
No, I haven't been ordained again yet. I may pursue it in the future, but after grasping at leadership at too young of an age, I'm still on this theological journey. I realize, because in the midst of this Reformation red pill moment, I changed seminaries from Western Seminary to Westminster Theological Seminary.
W to another.
Yeah, that's right. The superior W.
Yeah.
Now, not the California one, the Pennsylvania, but and so I was doing online courses there, and I was taking my Doctrine of God class and realized, I was low-key a little bit heretical in my doctrine of God as a pastor. And not convictionally heretical, just I didn't understand. No one saw fit to make sure that I had a solid doctrine of God before allowing me to pastor a church.
In seminary.
Like, what? What? Anyway, so I'm taking this Doctrine of God class. I'm learning. I'm like, coming into this new theological world. And I realized, like, I started getting this hunch, like, maybe I shouldn't be leading people while I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be building this airplane in the air. You know what I mean?
While I'm discovering.
While I'm reforming. And I was feeling that way. I was leaning that way. And then what really sealed the deal was I went to a CREC presbytery meeting, because we also became convicted that we don't need to be non-denominational, just out in the wilderness with no accountability, no oversight. Acts 29 barely, for us anyway, barely said or did anything. We could have done whatever we wanted.
Yes, you were still very autonomous.
Very autonomous. And we began to read the New Testament and see the councils. We began to see how the New Testament church operated and how there was a level of connectivity and sending out the apostles. We were like, this is not what we have. We need to be a part of something. And so we reached out to the CREC knowing that they accepted Reformed Baptists, because we were Reformed Baptists. You were at that time.
Yeah. I can still hope you'll come back.
That's right. Well, so we reached out and they said, why don't you just come visit our presbytery meeting and see if it would be a good fit? Like, just come visit. So that's where they do business. For anyone who's new, that's where they do business.
Were you blown away by it?
That is an understatement.
Yes.
We get there and they began the presbytery meeting. We probably had 30 churches represented, 20 to 30 churches, even closer to 20. And their elders and their families and just some guests.
So a lot of people in that room.
A lot of people. And it was at their church. They hosted this wonderful meal. And you just came in it kicked off, the first event was just a meal where we ate together. But before we ate, we sang psalms. I had never sang a psalm before.
Were you pretty moved by that?
It blew my mind because they were like, all right, we're going to worship together. And someone sits down on the piano and I was like, all right, where's the guitar? Where's the where's the projector? Where are the words? Oh, you're going to give us bullets? So what is this? I don't know. Music. Yeah. You have music actually on it, And so and then they began to sing and it raised the hair on my arms. I was like, what is this? And they're singing a psalm that I can barely keep up with. And little kids are like somersaulting and singing by heart, and I'm like, what is this world? This is like going to Narnia. I'm like, what is this? And so I'm very moved by it. And then at the end, this hearty amen that everyone partakes in, it just, that amen, I say, was like the nail in the coffin for my church plant. Because I realized by the end of that it was that and seeing the ordination exam that this is what I want. This is the culture that I want for my family.
Yeah.
This is the culture that I want for my parishioners. But I've not been trained to give anyone this culture. I need to learn this. And so really, that really was kind of the nail in the coffin for my church, because I said, we've got to pull the plug. I can't build this. I don't know how to build this. But this is what I want for my family, for my people.
All right. So I'm assuming you were financially supported as a church planter in Los Angeles. Since then, what have you done to support yourself and your family?
That's the question. By the grace of God, my donors said they would stay with me through a transition. Whenever I made the decision to shut down the church, it was terrifying because I had no plan B. I was on a 10-year track to plant a church in LA with no plan B. And I have no marketable skills. I went to Bible school and seminary.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And
sell cars.
Yeah, in which I did for a little bit, but I'm pretty good at it. But I thought, what am I going to do? And by the grace of God, my donor said they would stick with me through a transition as I join a local CREC church here in Nashville. At the time, we also found out I had my first son, and he had kidney failure.
Man.
Yeah. So he's been on medication and hospital visits his whole life, and he just had a kidney transplant 3 months ago.
How old is he?
3.
No, he's 3.
He's 3. He's doing great after the kidney transplant. Still a long road, but
I'm sorry to hear, brother.
Yeah, but God's been faithful in the midst of that.
That was mucho expensivo.
Oh, still is. Yeah,
still is.
Yeah, and so all that's happened, and I'm like, how am I going to provide for my family? What am I going to do? The donors stay with me, but that ran out actually quite suddenly and unexpectedly 4 months ago. Yeah, so I lost half my income 4 months ago. And I had been building Reformation Red Pill, and that had begun to be about what a part-time job would pay.
So it is monetized.
It's monetized.
Yeah.
I was making enough to fill in the gaps on the part-time side. Then I lose all the rest of my income about 4 months ago, and I have a choice to make. Okay, I can live off savings and try to build this, or I can go, I don't know, sell cars. And I had this sense that the Lord was really blessing what we're building over here. And I just thought, if I went all in on this, I think I could build this. I think I can support my family at this. And so I just put all my cards on the table and said, all right, Lord, I'm going to build. I'm going to build and bless it. And if you don't bless it, I guess I'll figure something else out. So for the last 4 months, it's been a full court press to build Reformation.
For 4 months right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, it's on. And it looks like this will be the first month that I don't have to dip into my savings. So,
well, that's wonderful. Hey, so let's just pause right there for a second and tell our listeners, again, you're Joshua, you have Reformation Red Pill. They can just Google that, right?
Yes, Reformation Red Pill or Joshua Haymes.
Yeah.
And they'll find me.
You've been podcasting for how long? How much?
Got a pretty big library now. Been going at it for 2 years.
2 years, right.
And we were
same as us.
Yeah, we were going 1 episode a week, and then I cranked up to 2 episodes a week. And then when I went full time, I do now 1 full-length episode per week, and now I do daily videos.
It's shorter, yeah.
So like 10 to 15-minute cultural commentary videos daily.
Yeah, what's the emphasis? What are you usually doing? Is it cultural commentary / theology?
Right, that's great. So basically, the podcast Reformation Red Pill relates back to my whole journey that I described to you at the beginning of this talk here, because I began to discover that there were hundreds, if not thousands of other young men who were feeling the exact same things I was feeling and going through in this journey from Big Eva, Acts 29 into Dark Roast Reformed world. And I once I discovered that,
I think there's even more of those now.
oh yeah,
Right now.
big time, big time. And when I discovered that, I thought, you know what, I'm a pastor, so I'm a pretty decent communicator. I've been chewing on these ideas for a long, long time. Maybe I can help some people. Like I'm not Doug Wilson. I'm not like 10 miles down the road, but I might be like 10 steps down the road from this guy. Yeah, that's right. But maybe I'm a mile down the road from this guy and I can help.
Yeah.
And so I thought, all right, I'm gonna basically lay out my journey from Big Eva world, Acts 29 world, into this confessional Reformed theology reform. And so I just covered all the doctrines and ministry philosophies that were like the red pills, the ones that really woke me up to. There is a real problem with our modern evangelical church. And part of the impetus for the podcast was the conviction that when our Lord gave the admonition to be salt and light, and what good is the salt if it loses its saltiness? Well, what's the implication there? And it's that, like in the ancient world, salt did two things, and it still does, but in the ancient world, it did two things, and that was to season, but then really, and very importantly, to preserve. It was a preservative. And, if you think of our culture, the cultural rot that has set
We need some preserving here.
Well, we have failed. That's what I'm saying. We have lost our salt. The salt has lost its saltiness, and therefore it's good for nothing because thrown out.
Became silence.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and hard teaching makes soft hearts, and soft teaching makes hard hearts. And I think we now have a culture of hard hearts because of all the soft teaching. And we failed. We as the church, we as God's people, we as church leaders failed to be the preservative. And so when I look out at the cultural rot, my first thought is not to blame the insane radical left. My first thought is to blame the church. And so that was the impetus for Reformation Red Pill. Judgment begins in the household of God. And so we need to get our ducks in order so that we can actually disciple our nation. And so that was what I started with Reformation Red Pill.
So have you gotten any serious pushback? Is there anybody who hates you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah?
Especially because I have now gone from, so that was the beginning of the podcast, was covering all those doctrines and ministry philosophies that led me into this world. Whenever I went full-time, I made a self-conscious shift from being exclusively this kind of high-level theology podcast to now my mission kind of transitioning into bringing this ecclesiological, theological world of Dark Roast Reformed to the normie evangelical. I don't think there are enough people in our world who are systematically thinking through how to reach those people at where they're at. Because you just cannot get normie evangelicals in the door when you're using words like supralapsarianism. You just can't. They don't like to feel stupid. No one likes to feel stupid. And when you start using all these $10 words, So I was like, how do I bring this theology and this ecclesiology into just to the normie evangelicals? And that's where I started God Save America, which is the project that just launched this week. But
tell us about it. What is it? I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, so God Save America, no one does it. You're one of the first to hear.
They're listening.
There you go. So God Save America it was born out of the conviction that when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, we really actually do need thousands and thousands of godly Christian leaders to fill that void.
Yeah.
And young Republicans, and explicitly our mission is to take all the young college Republicans across the nation and inject Christ into their Christless conservatism. They've got
So become conservative.
Gen Z is incredibly conservative. Let's say
guys.
Yeah, it is, especially with guys. But the reason they're conservative is because all the institutions are liberal, right? And so now the rebellious thing to do is to rebel against the system.
Well, plus they're white guys. They've been told they're the scum of Europe.
That's exactly
They're
right.
tired of that.
They're tired of that. And so they're rebelling against the system. So that's actually a pretty powerful sociological phenomenon. The fact that all the institutions have been captured by leftist schoolmarms who just tut,
Yeah.
and nobody likes that.
Big revolt.
Revolt. So not only are we right, like objectively, truthfully, we're right.
Yep.
We also have that sociological phenomenon where young people are rebellious, but they're actually now rebelling in the right direction.
So you want to help them revolt all the way to Christ.
No, that's exactly right. And so my mission really is to take, like I said, inject Christ into their Christless conservatism. They've got all these conservative values, but they're rootless. They're just reactionary. And so I want to come along and say, hey, you're actually right, but you don't know why you're right. Let's root all of your political philosophy in the eternal, unchangeable, and inerrant Word of God. Okay, let's do that. And whenever I start feeding them this Christian nationalism, as some people call it, some people don't like the term, but basically just applying the Word of God to politics and culture. And as I offer this to them, like these ideological, philosophical, theological tools to do that, they are eating it up.
Yeah.
They're starving for it.
Yes. So just as an illustration of the fact that you're onto something here, just this past Sunday, we have a thing regularly throughout the year where new folks can come and have lunch with me after church. Some other staff members are there. Some people stop in. We have lunch and then we just talk. They get to ask their questions. So there were, I think, 6 people in this one. And there were 2 guys who kind of knew each other. And I asked, where'd you come from? How'd you find us? They were both really Roman Catholics, or I don't think have even heard the gospel yet. But they were politically inclined to leave their church because they've kind of gone woke and whatever else. And they decided, we don't like that. We're going to look for a church that isn't that way. And they found our church. They don't know what they found yet. But they're exactly this. They're revolting against all the woke nonsense, all the gender stuff, and they're very conservative in their politics. They want a church that's that way. We get to open up more than they realize they're in for.
That's exactly right. It's really astounding to see just how conservative these young people are. And now I've had the opportunity now to go on campus. We did kind of a trial run where I did like a Charlie Kirk style tabling thing.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah, it was crazy. I partnered with the College Republicans chapter on MTSU, just 20 minutes south of here. And I'm going back next Wednesday, actually. But
do you have security?
Yeah, I did. But I didn't hire them. It was just campus security.
Are you looking on the rooftops?
Honestly. Well,
binoculars?
Yeah, because I did have several people coming by to raise a fuss and call me fascist and all that good stuff.
Hater.
Oh yeah. But it was really, hey, nice shirt.
Oh yeah.
We sell that shirt. We got that from us. So I went on campus, and essentially what I'm seeing is all these young people. I interviewed a bunch of them about how they were experiencing Charlie Kirk's assassination. And, people have said this, and it's almost cliche at this point, but it really is a turning point for our nation. It is. People, we're not, I don't think we're even going to fully grasp what we lost in Charlie Kirk for years, if not decades. There's no one in the wings who can do exactly what he does in winning the next generation.
He was a very unique individual.
He was. And he was becoming more and more explicitly Christian in his politics. With each month.
Yeah, and outspoken.
And he had discipled all these young people to do that. And now these young people are like, they took away our guy. What do we do?
Yeah.
And I have just developed a real heart for these young men. And so I went on campus to basically take what Charlie was doing, and I don't mean to the next level as in doing it better, but I mean next on the level of explicitly Christian. So I put together a sign that said, Christ is King at the top. And then I had 3 propositions, basically. Abortion is murder and it must be abolished. Pornography must be banned, and transgender ideology must be eradicated. And all of that is not because it's just in some utilitarian ethic, it's going to be best for the most number of people. No, all of these things must be banned because Christ is King and he says so. And so I had this sign.
You're doing this on campus?
I did this on campus. I brought this sign and said, all right, if anyone wants to come up and talk about it, we'll talk about it. And within just like 30 minutes, we probably had 200, 300, 400 students come.
Oh yeah, it was wild.
It was wild.
How many were wearing MAGA hats?
We probably had 35% were not wearing necessarily, some of them wearing MAGA hats, but like young Republicans.
Yeah.
And I realized pretty quickly as I was having these debates with these students who it was for. And it was for those young men. That I watched them swell. Like as I spoke, I watched them like stand up straighter. They're they need someone to lead them. They need someone to teach them. They need someone to lead them. And I'm not saying I'm the wisest, smartest guy in the world, but I do have some core principles figured out. And it is that Christ is King and there's not a single square inch of this entire cosmos over which Christ does not cry mine. Abraham Kuyper.
Nice.
And I can impart that to the next generation of college Republicans who will run our country in 3 decades.
So are you hoping to keep going to campuses and then maybe more campuses?
That's the plan. So with God Save America, I am looking to raise $500,000 by the end of the year. And that's going to fund 3 things. 1, the campus visits. I'm putting together a campus tour to just tour around, maybe the whole country, definitely the Southeast. And then, so that's thing number 1. tour the campuses, pay for editing, pay for a cameraman, pay for security. So that's part of the funding. The other part is building out a curriculum to take these students from 0 to 1 with Christian political theology, grounding their conservative principles in the eternal Word of God. And so make it very simple, very accessible, and let them know basically that, hey, you don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to Christian conservative politics. Like, you can stand on the shoulders of giants who have been thinking about this for a very long time.
Right.
Here's the entry into that. So
Right.
put together that curriculum, make it free, then build out a community where they can all come and be an online community and build that. So that's two. And then the third thing is to put together a think tank. It's everyone who is currently working on Protestant political theology, centralizing all of that into one place so that people can like get a feel for, basically peruse, browse, study, learn. And so put together this think tank. So
We have a sale.
I know, it's nice. It's nice. But so that's the mission with God Save America.
Yeah. So take a moment, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And in a moment here, go ahead and look right into our cameras and say, hey, if you want to support this, here's how you can get a check to us.
That's great. So we have a website, and I'll give it to you for the link. But if you look up God Save America, Joshua Haymes, we're still we launched it this week, so we're getting it all. But the website is up. You can donate on the website. You can either do monthly donations. My goal is within the next week to secure $2,000 a month in monthly donations or $20,000 in one-time gifts. That'll fund basically my first round of campus tours.
Yeah.
And so if you want to give to that, it's all on the website. You can be a monthly donor. You can be a one-time donor. That just even if I can just get an editor, I will be a monster out there. I will get so much content. Right now, I spend half my life editing.
You do your own
I
editing.
do all my own production and all my own editing. Yeah, that's the mission.
Very good.
Yeah,
Really cool. So you're about to become a much busier man.
that's the goal.
Okay, how's your wife feel about you traveling campus?
Well, I will say the goal is actually to become a little less busy. Right now, I'm burning the candle at both ends because I edit. But once I get paid an editor, I can substitute that editing time for reading and studying, and writing, which is what I really need to do to be sharp enough.
Yeah, that's what you're good at.
Yeah, that's what I'm good at.
I edit.
Exactly. But that's a great question about my wife, because it's tough. It's tough. About a month before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, me and my team, when we went full time with the content creation, we decided together that's what I'm aiming to be. Explicitly, Charlie Kirk, he's coming from big conservatism, more and more into the Christian world. I'm coming from theology, pastor, the Christian world into politics and culture. And so that was the plan, to meet him in the middle. And I was actually supposed to be on his show. We had scheduled a situation where I was supposed to be on a show, but obviously everything happened. But so obviously my wife, knowing that, whenever Charlie Kirk's assassinated, she's like, wait a second, you want to be like who now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
Where we're headed.
and it's really time to count the costs.
And while you're burning the candle at both ends, you have a 3-year-old son, right?
We just had a kidney transplant.
Yeah. Man.
It's been a season. Have you ever seen? I'm a big fan of old westerns. I don't know if you're an old western guy.
Huge fan right there.
Okay, 310 to Yuma. Have you seen?
I love that one.
Okay, I had never watched. I was going through all the oldies right now, and so my wife and I, she's been watching with me. I don't know if you remember. There's a scene that really was powerful for her, and that by the way, that movie is a masterclass in biblical masculinity versus machismo masculinity. It's so good, but it's a great commentary there. But the point that really stood out to my wife was there's a moment towards the end of the film when he has to make the decision of whether or not he's going to risk his life to turn in the killer.
Yeah.
And really, it's a good chance that he's going to die. Like, it's most likely that he's going to die, but the right thing to do is to get him to justice. And even the guy who was funding the whole thing says, don't do it. Like, it's like, I'll pay you even if you don't do it. Just walk away. This is not going to be good for you. And so he has this moment where, do I do it? And his wife comes. Oh, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, because it was
that hero's moment.
It was. And so the wife has this opportunity. It was a very short moment in the movie, but you're thinking in real life what the wife would do is, don't do this.
Don't, honey.
Don't.
Yeah.
You're gonna. We have kids.
Yeah,
you can't do this. And she could have begged and begged and begged. Don't do it. But she just said, she didn't. She blessed him. She said, I'll be waiting for you.
Whew.
Yeah. So
you had your wife watch that 10 times?
yeah. Well, we at the end of the film, we really talked about that for a second because that's what she's struggling with. The day after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I told her, I can't sit still. I'm going on campus to proclaim the gospel.
Yeah.
The day after, and she said, "What? You're doing what on campus? Doing what?"
But hey, I don't want to be crass or anything. I really love and miss Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
But you know more about security needs now.
Yes. No. No. Absolutely. Absolutely. But so I mean, but right after we had probably that wasn't a fight, but it was a real come to Jesus moment whenever I told her I need to go on campus. Like I need to, like they killed him so that we wouldn't do that, to shut us up, to scare us, to get us away from reaching the next generation. And we had a big long talk that morning, the morning after it happened. And we prayed about it together and she was just so scared, so fearful. But then by the end, she was like, she's coming more and more to these convictions that I know that like Jesus did not promise us a cushy, easy life. And I don't want to be the wife that holds you back from advancing God's kingdom, but I also don't want you to die, you know? And so she's struggling with these things. And so when we watched Reach into Yuma, it was just a really powerful moment for that wife to just see like, this is biblical femininity, to say like, I'm your helper, I'm in your corner.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to prevent you from doing the right thing, even when it's going to be painful. And
How many years you two been married?
7.
7 years. Women of God, you hearing this?
That's right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. And it's still a daily struggle to trust the Lord in each of those moments. But yeah, it was powerful. So,
Yeah.
And we're getting some hate mail and things like that, having to beef up security at our house, but that's part of
your
it.
house.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm tempted to ask you like what, but let's not go there.
Sure.
You don't want people to hear that.
Yeah, sure.
So I think I have one more question for you, and that is, what would you do? What would you encourage the listeners to do so that they can become more helpful in just the overall effort to transform culture by the gospel, by the work of the believers, and so on? What should the average XYZ Christian out there do?
That's great. I think the answer to that is twofold. First and foremost, especially men who are watching, like we named our organization God Save America. If you want God to save America, the way he's going to do that is through his body, Jesus Christ. And that means you, young man, will be a part of saving America. That's how Jesus works, is through his body. And the only way that that's going to happen is if you are the kind of man that other men can follow, like the kind of godly Christian man. One of my life verses that has become Proverbs 25:28, that a man without self-control is like a city broken into without walls.
Yeah, Proverbs.
Yes. And men, you are the walls, the city walls for your family. But if you don't have self-control, like are you waking up early? Are you hitting the knee? Are you hitting your knees on the floor in prayer? Are you soaking yourself and your family in the Word of God? Are you doing family worship? Are you, like if we want to save America, I mean, Jordan Peterson, he's got a little soft in my opinion, but Jordan Peterson's right. We've got to clean our room. You've got to have your house in order. If you want to save America, you got to have your house in order. And that means you've got to be the kind of man that other men can follow, that your boys can follow, that your daughter can look up to.
So incidentally, Jordan Peterson in Common Grace is doing us some good, but he's a very mixed bag.
He is. He's a very mixed bag. Very mixed bag. But he has some great things to say, for sure. So get your house in order and, be Joshua. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, and let that play out in every single area of your life. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I don't think every man needs to become a political commentator. But you just don't. No one has the time.
Yeah.
Like most men do not have the time to consume as much reading and listening, and to really become that kind of voice. But I will say, I think that the failure of evangelicals to get involved in politics at a local level is one of the great failures that has led to our cultural collapse. The left isn't like that. The left trains their people, and it's because they believe their eschatology more than we believe ours. They have this like distorted postmillennialism, right? They have an eschatological view. They're progressive, so they really believe that we're headed for this inevitable egalitarian, liberal, feministic hellscape that they're concocting.
One world.
Yes, and that they can bring it about through political action. And they're actually not wrong. They can bring about a lot of it and have proved that they can bring a lot of it about through political action. They get involved in the school board meetings. They get involved in local politics. They don't just leave it for someone else to do. And that's why George Soros funds local DAs. That's why he puts all his money not towards national elections. That's where we get obsessed, but he actually funds local DAs, and he's changed the makeup of our country by doing that, by getting involved with local politics. So I would say, like, develop a cohort with your church, with your local church, of young men who are willing to say, like, okay, we can't solve the nation's problems, but hey, we can get the tranny books out of our local library. We can start there. Like, we can actually bring about real, godly, righteous political change in our town. That, like, county before country. That is how we will see change. And so, first, make sure you're the kind of man that's going to the Word, that you're soaking yourself and your family, you're a good, godly Christian man. And then get involved locally. Like, and find a way to do it. It's not easy. We don't have a roadmap for that, honestly. But make an effort.
Yeah, I wouldn't be much help. I don't have a roadmap for that.
I'm not
same.
There. I'm just now working on it.
Trying to figure out, all right, what should I be doing in my county?
I'm telling you right now, what we've done, we're in the Genesis phase of this with our church. Being a guy in my church, I challenged him to basically take the 3 counties that our church, that most of the members of our church are from, and write out a newsletter once every month or two that basically has upcoming elections, who are the true conservatives, who are the Christians, and if anything, now you know how to vote in your local elections. These are the ones that we would give the stamp of approval to. And so he takes, a couple hours a month, and he types this up, writes up a newsletter so that we know at least how to vote in our local elections. That's a great start, and we've only just now started to do that. But I would say we've got to, I think, understanding national politics, I think it's valuable. But we're kidding ourselves if we think it's more valuable than the change we can actually bring about in our towns, And so I would say start pursuing that. I would say adopt or appoint some people in your church, in your community that is gifted in administration, organization, and have them write up a newsletter so we know how to vote in the local elections, something like that.
Wonderful. Joshua, thank you. Reformation Red Bill.
That's it.
Y'all check him out.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
Yeah.